It happened to me 7 years ago. My wife just decided that she wanted to move on with someone else that she had met. And I was, it was like getting hit over the back of the head with a baseball bat. I never saw it coming at all. And I've really learned a great lesson from this, and I'd like to share with you. I haven't shared much about this publicly. What I can say to you is that what I've learned from the Tao is that there are different ways to reach a place of enlightenment or nirvana or a higher place of consciousness, living as a Taoist master, a God-realized life, a Tao-centered life, where your thoughts and your behaviors and your attitudes and everything are in harmony with the Tao, which is the natural source of all things, to which we will all return, from which we all originated. And the way to get to that Tao-centered way of living, to be a Taoist master or a peaceful being or whatever, it seems like there's different ways to get there. One of the ways is to get there is through, I call it enlightenment through suffering, where something happens to you that is very painful, very difficult, very much of a struggle. It could be an accident. It could be just finding out that you've got a disease or something. It could be what you're talking about here, John, which is something that really challenges us internally, the idea of ending a relationship in a divorce, which is something you may not ever have contemplated. When that kind of thing comes up, even if you don't ever get along, it's still a very difficult thing to process. So what happens at that stage of your life is you go through this period of suffering, and the suffering is, why did this happen, and oh my God, and I don't know, and you get sick, and you don't eat well, and you wonder what I could have done differently, and you try to resolve it, and time goes by, a year goes by, 2 years go by, and you're still in that state of suffering, and you don't eat well, and your blood pressure's not right, and your gut isn't right, and so on. And then finally something happens to you after a period of time where you begin to say, now I know why I had to go through that. And I can say that to you. My best writing, the best work that I've done in my life, the relationships with my children, everything in my life in the last 7 years has taken a giant step upward to a higher place. I'm a much better, more compassionate, better writer, better speaker, better father, better human being in virtually every respect. And so much of it came from the anguish and the pain and so on that I was feeling during those years. The power of intention, inspiration, change your thoughts, my whole year with the Tao, my children's books, my specials and so on television. Everything has just elevated to a higher place. In fact, my income has gone up like by tenfold. And every aspect outside of myself, I look at it, and I've gone to a higher place. So then you get to a place in your life where you just say, I just don't have enough time for this suffering. Every time something like this happens, I don't have years and years and years to go through it, and then ultimately realize that this has been a blessing. There's been something really positive and very good for me in this. So then you move to the next level in your life, which is when something like this happens, instead of saying to yourself, oh my God, I'm going to go through a long period of suffering, you say to yourself, you know what? I'm going to deal with this right now. What's in this for me? And if this is what she really wants, and I'm going to really test myself, I'm going to let her go. And I'm going to let her go with love and with kindness. And every day that I think anything, I'm just going to only think positive, loving things about this woman who is the mother of my children, who has been my partner for however long. And I'm going to love her through whatever this may be and keep myself out of it, get my ego out of it, and just surround her with love. And you can almost feel the internal kind of relief where you're saying, my God, enlightenment is here, and I don't even have to suffer. And I become more compassionate. I become everything that the suffering used to teach me. That's the second level. And then ultimately, John, you get to this highest level, which is the place where you see something like this coming at you. So before it even arrives, you're totally at peace with whatever decision anybody out there might offer you. And that's, by way of my advice to you, it's to see the blessing in this, to honor her, to love her through this, to give her whatever reason that she needs to be able to have this separation or this separateness or this divorce, for whatever reasons are going on in her head, totally, completely, honorably love her through it, and just watch what happens for you. You, as a more compassionate, more loving, more giving, less ego-driven person about the pain and so on, you're going to find yourself moving higher and higher and higher and wondering, in a few months from now or a year from now or whatever, how you could have ever not seen the great gratitude and blessing that's in this moment in your life. Like they always say about the butterfly, if you try to grasp and try to hold on to it, you've never held it. You've got to let it go away, and if it doesn't come back, you never had it in the first place. And you have to love it for its freedom and for its desire to be what it is. And so many great and wonderful blessings are coming your way, probably as a result of your being able to be in a place, maybe for the first time in a very, very long time in your life, when you're totally, completely independent and on your own. Maybe that's what you need. A little bit of detachment from your need to have this thing work out probably is what made your performance at such a high level. Yeah. And when I see my wife now, I love her more now than I ever did before, and she's not even with me. You know?